What's up, guys? Welcome to Comic Basics, where we try to teach you the most pivotal points in comic history in 7 minutes or less. I'm Joel, and today's pivotal point: Flashpoint and the birth of the New 52, and how it changed everything. Before we begin, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. I need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button right below this video. Not only does it ensure that you don't miss a video, it also helps this channel grow. Comic books can be as confusing and convoluted as anything on the planet. In truth, sometimes I think that they actually are the most confusing and convoluted thing on the planet. Here's why. It's incredibly difficult for anyone, let alone a long-time reader, to pick up a book and immediately understand what's going on. I don't believe it's purposely done. I believe it inadvertently happens because generations of editors, writers, and artists each work to cement their own legacy in comic history. To do this often means that they have to change things. This could be any number of things: the history, the abilities, or even the origins. Frank Miller's Batman and Daredevil come to mind. He, through careful crafting and imagination, was able to transform and take these two characters to unprecedented heights. Basically, Frank Miller's work rewrote the characters and set the standard for who and what they were. This meant that every writer, creator, and artist after him had to draw upon what Frank Miller did. Frank Miller and what he did doesn't always happen. On occasion, the rewrites and reimaginings change characters in unforgivable and unforgettable ways. Think about how many abilities and changes Wolverine has undergone since the 1970s. When this happens, when a character, history, or universe becomes so entangled in itself, the publisher has nothing left to do but start over. This means that the character receives a reboot or a reset. Unfortunately, this is no easy task. Worse yet, done incorrectly, it can set them back years or even decades. All publishers go through this. DC is master of it. The worlds within DC have, on more than one occasion, become so convoluted that both new and old fans couldn't figure out what was happening. DC had created a universe that didn't allow anybody to pick up a comic, dive in, read it, and instantly be able to tell what was happening. Instead, their world required the reader to go to their local comic book store, purchase a few years worth of stories, and somehow piece it together. As you can imagine, nobody in his or her right mind would want to do this. In the 1980s, Marv Wolfman and George Perez set the standard for resetting the universe with Crisis on Infinite Earths. The 12-issue run masterfully created a how-to guide for comic book reset and told one hell of a story. Crisis on Infinite Earths entrenched itself in comic book lore and to this day is regarded as one of the best stories ever written. Nearly 25 years later, DC had to show the world how to reboot the universe once again. Flashpoint caused a company-wide relaunch and rebranded the most popular DC titles: Detective Comics, The Flash, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League of America, Batgirl, Batman the Dark Knight, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and more. For this, they turned to master architect and renowned DC writer Jeff Johns. Johns immediately turned to the Flash Barry Allen, and with Barry, he once again changed history. In this new history, Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, killed Barry Allen's mother Nora. Even though Barry had the capability to travel through time and prevent her death, he would not because he knew that changing history caused problems. Changing this, Barry awoke in a world in which his mother was still alive. What makes this different from other resets was that in Johns' world, this reality was a parallel existence to another reality. Think Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 4, etc. This world was actually a new timeline known as Flashpoint. Flashpoint was very different from the regular continuity that Barry came from. Within Flashpoint, Bruce Wayne was the one who died that night in the alley, leaving Thomas Wayne to becoming Batman and his mother Martha to become the Joker. In this timeline, Aquaman and Wonder Woman were at war with one another, and the US government, from birth, imprisoned Superman. In Flashpoint, no one knew of Barry's other timeline except for, well, Barry. Throughout Flashpoint, Barry was under the impression that Reverse Flash had changed the timeline. He understood it that Reverse Flash went back and killed Nora. This wasn't so. As Barry discovered, Barry went back and saved his mother. This led Barry to travel back through time to stop himself from saving his mother. He successfully did so, and the result was an entirely new reality being born. This reality became the New 52. Flashpoint was not on the same level as, let's say, Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it achieved a very similar outcome. Like Crisis on Infinite Earths, it gave birth to an entire timeline that saw every story start with it. This meant that from September 7, 2011 onward, the entire DC catalog reset itself back to issue 1. More than that, DC slimmed down their lineup to just 52 different titles. Basically, Flashpoint became a starting point. In the world of comic books, this was unprecedented. Certainly, DC wasn't the first publisher to reboot its issues and characters, and it won't be the last. What DC was, however, was the first publisher to reset its entire lineup of books to number 1. DC bravely marched blindfold on into uncharted territory. If it doesn't, this should impress you. DC has a history of comic books and characters that date back to before the Second World War. Adolf Hitler was marching and DC was making superhero books. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman had been riding issue numbers for nearly a century, and they reset. Of course, as of today, books have begun to pick up where they left off, but that's inconsequential. Because of Flashpoint, the New 52 swung the spotlight back to DC, and it stayed there for years. Even the mighty Marvel and their Marvel Now couldn't stop it. Very few characters had the ability to travel back through time and venture across the multiverse. After Flashpoint, Barry Allen became the character to do it. Understand that Flashpoint wasn't Barry's first foray into traveling across the multiverse, but it was the one that changed everything. Very few characters could affect change on the level that Barry did. For arguably the first time in his existence, Barry Allen stood tall with the likes of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. His efforts made readers all over the world question who of the four was the most important and powerful. The answer was Barry. None of the big three could cause a change in the way that Barry did. I don't aim to beat a dead horse, but Flashpoint cemented Barry Allen as one of, if not the most important character in DC Comics. Flashpoint has been adapted to various forms of media since its creation. It has been turned into one of the best outings in animation, Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox, and the focal point of a Season 3 episode of The Flash on CW. Average stories don't get this kind of attention. They can't. By all metrics, Flashpoint wasn't an average story. Jeff Johns crafted one of his best works in Flashpoint, and now production companies are lining up to get a piece of it, and they should be. Flashpoint, along with changing everything, gave the comic book world an updated template on how to reboot an entire company. At the end of the day, there may never be a Flashpoint, and that's probably a good thing. And that's it, guys. Flashpoint and the birth of the New 52, how it changed everything. As always, I'm going to ask you 3 things before you go. First, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button. It really helps this channel grow. Second, if you really liked it, be sure to check out our other videos. If you don't know where to begin, no worries. I've given you a recommendation up in the right-hand corner. Third, I'm going to ask you to check out 2 websites. First, I need you to go check out something we really believe in. It's called Comics for Cause, and you can find it at www.comicsforcause.com. The link is in the description. Comics for Cause is a not-for-profit organization created by us here at Comic Basics that sees the distribution of comic books to hospitals and orphanages all over the world to children who need them most. Check out the website, and if you can, I encourage you to help us. Second, I need you to check out Comic Basics, of course. Comic Basics is the parent company to this YouTube channel, and it has more information than we can cram into any of these videos. You can find it at www.comicbasics.com. The link is also in the description. Thanks, guys, and we will catch you next time.